Who said Bruce Willis was the king of scum? Let's take a look at this one. The heroine is Monica Bellucci, who is crazy about money. In the film, there is also a young royal warrior, Rip, the prototype of the soap opera in the Call of Duty. This movie is called The Tears of the Sun. It tells the story of how the pirate assault team led by the old man turned the plane upside down in order to save the refugees and disobeyed the boss's order to rescue them. It was a long-term riot in Nigeria. Recently, there was a serious military coup. The local president's whole family was shot by the rioters. Ambassadors from all over the country have evacuated from this city. Not far from Africa, the pirate assault team led by Watts just completed the mission. They rescued the staff of the U.S. Embassy. But there was another task ahead of them. They had to rescue an important person, Dr. Lena from the International Rescue Organization, who was rescued from the riot. They also rescued 2 nuns from a church and a priest. 8 pirate assault team members landed at a designated location in a church at night. They lurked in the river, taking advantage of the woman who was hitting the water, and abducted her. After communication, Watts was able to find the person they were looking for soon. Dr. Lena was operating on the wounded with the 2 nuns. There were refugees who were injured in the war everywhere. The purpose of the rescue was to get Lena and the 2 nuns to pack up quickly. They would take them away from here immediately. But there was a problem. Lena wanted to leave with the 70 refugees. If she didn't take them, she wouldn't leave. Watts didn't agree. His order was to take Lena alone, not even the priest and the nuns. In the end, Watts couldn't do anything about Lena's stubbornness. He could only promise Lena to leave with everyone. So he ordered everyone to gather and set off in half an hour. All the refugees went to battle. It's more important to face death alive. The priest thanked everyone for everything he did as a merchant. He and an old nun were not going to leave. When they left, another young nun was not going to leave either. Faced with the cruel turmoil and war, Watts said, "Only they know that no one can leave." They passed a small river through a forest. Because there were more merchants, they only walked 5 kilometers. 8 pirates assault team members were assigned. 2 different positions. The one in charge of exploring the road in front, the one in charge of commanding in the team, and the one in charge of watching the rear. At night, because of the merchants, Watts ordered to rest for 30 minutes and set up a warning line. During this time, Lena's doctor gave the medicine to the merchants for the children. At this time, the assault team members of the warning line found the rebel guerrilla team. So hurry up and notify the refugees to hide. This is a rebel army. If they find out, they will all die here. The man covered the child's mouth. No sound can be heard. The tense atmosphere is finally over. A rebel member of the team found them. Then he died under the knife of Watts. Lena, who was frightened, shuddered. She ran to Watts. She knew that the rebel army would definitely go to the church. She hoped that Watts, who was good at martial arts, could stop them. Watts can't do that. That will endanger the safety of everyone here. Besides, they may miss the church. Another day came. Watts was giving a class for young nuns. Suddenly, the door of the church was pushed open. A group of rebels rushed in with murderous intent. They saw that the church was full of injured merchants. Watts kept begging for mercy. "Tell them that there are no soldiers here. There are only patients here." The general took a look at Watts' cross necklace. Then he looked up at the church. Then he gave his capable subordinate a look. Then he left. Watts pulled out a cold weapon a meter long behind him. Cut it to Watts. A white pigeon flew up in the sky, indicating that there was chaos. Underground, the pirate assault team arrived at the designated location with the refugees. After they looked around to make sure it was safe, Eagle 1 began to call Star 1. The 2 helicopters will arrive in 5 minutes. So they put the signal bullets on the small field. The helicopter landed very quickly. Watts grabbed Lena's hand and ran towards the plane. A.K asked why the other helicopter didn't come down. Watts told her that it was an armed helicopter. She was in charge of the alert. At this time, the refugees behind were stopped by soldiers. Lena, who was on the plane, suddenly realized that Watts and the others were not going to take them all away. Watts could only obey his order to take Lena out. The refugees were not within his range of command. The doctor, who felt cheated, gave Watts a big slap. He also spat at Watts. Watts forced Watts to get on the helicopter. The refugees couldn't bear to leave Lena. They also hoped that their angel could leave the battlefield. What's worse is that they were abandoned and had no way to go. They basically had to wait for death. There were innocent guerrillas everywhere. All the members of the pirate assault team boarded the plane. So they left. The mission was a success, and the people who stayed could only cry in pain. No one spoke on the helicopter. Everyone knew that the refugees who stayed had almost no hope of surviving. They walked very slowly in the jungle, but the plane was fast. They soon passed the church they set out to, and here the edge of the lake was dyed red. The church soon turned into ashes in the fire. Lena quickly got up and looked down. There were bodies of injured people all over the ground. She couldn't control her tears. All the lives saved by Dr. Lena were taken by the dead. No one would survive the tragic scene. After crying, Lena had no more tears in her eyes. The soldiers of the pirate assault team could only stay silent. Watts looked at all his teammates. He looked at Dr. Lena, who was exhausted. He said something that shocked everyone with tears in his eyes. "Turn around." At this time, the enemy's black brother found a signal bullet from the American old man. Through the scene inspection, he knew that some people got on the plane. Some people went into the mountains. Then the guerrillas of 300 people began to chase them. The small village in front of him was full of gunshots. The black brother saw a massacre. Then the old man checked the movement of the disabled people. He ordered the snipers to go to the peak. So far, only 7 rioters have been seen. The black brother found that there should be people in the hut and the house in the rules of the battle. The commander Bill once said that members of the pirate assault team are not allowed to open fire when there is a war. But they can't keep watching. So he called all the members of the assault team, a total of 8 people. Let Lena and the refugees hide in the mountains. The members of the pirate assault team with full equipment stood in a row. Under the leadership of Watts, the soldiers installed silencers. They didn't think too much about whether to fight this battle or not. They didn't consider the rules of the battle. They just wanted to save the village refugees under the gunfire. Next, the boss began to assign tasks. The sniper was responsible for lighting the fire. The rest of the people were divided into 2 teams to cover. It must be absolutely quiet. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. The 7 members of the 2 teams also entered the village. Watts and his teammates found that the dead refugees had piled up into a small mountain. It means that these soldiers have been slaughtering for a whole day. Then a few members of the assault team began to attack with silencers in their hands. Various concealments and movements killed all the rebels in a few minutes. The refugees watching the mountain shed tears of sadness again. Their country is full of such slaughtering, but they can't do anything about it. The soldier who killed the rapist woman is still a child. Looking at the dead baby, Reed and the soap man's eyes are wet. Watts looked at the dead refugees on the ground, looking at the gray sky. The war was really terrible. Everyone after the war was in a trance. They didn't know why the world was like this. Watts was in a nightmare. When he woke up, he instinctively raised his gun. His subordinates told him that we were in trouble. He looked through the computer and saw a group of armed forces fighting them overnight. It took about an hour or 2 to catch up with them. There must be a reason for a large number of troops to track them, and there must be someone reporting to the enemy. Some of the dozens of refugees were reported to the tail. So Watts asked Lena to point out the last 3 days to the church. They confiscated all the rifles in the hands of the refugees. At this time, a refugee ran away. The sniper aimed and shot. Lena watched her friend die under the gun and shouted loudly. In the mouth of the unbreathable refugee, they kidnapped her family and made her responsible for providing intelligence. The person who instigated her was Korsadek. He was just one of the many people who gave her intelligence. Reed found communication equipment on him. Watts asked loudly who he was talking about. Before he died, the refugee said a person's name, Yas. The boss was angry. He wanted to quickly find out why the rebels were chasing them. Why would someone send a signal to report their location? Report our location to more than 300 Nigerian soldiers. The boss threw the communication equipment to read. He knew what the refugees were hiding from him. He wanted to know what they were doing. If he didn't say anything, he would start killing people. Then he counted to 5. Watts took up his gun and aimed at the boss. Suddenly, a young black man stood up. "My name is Arthur Ahsoka." It turned out that he was the only son of President Samuel. The rebels did not assassinate all the president's family. They killed his father and his mother and 2 of Yas's sisters. His father fought for the rights of the people, for his people. Yas's bodyguard also stood up and spoke for Yas's father. Watts turned to Lena. He knew that Lena had long known about Yas. Lena told him, "I didn't believe you at that time." After finding out the reason, their main task was to continue to fight. It was still more than an hour's drive away from Camelon. They also knew the 300 soldiers behind them. The speed of the horse did not stop chasing them overnight. There were several flies hovering in the sky. The 300 troops of Korsitic were getting closer and closer to the signal. Korsitic took off his binoculars. He saw that their informant was dead. When the black man was studying tactics with the boss, the soldiers under him actually used their hands to grab the informant's communication equipment. Fortunately, this is not a bomb. When the soldiers put it back, it was Reed who is hiding in the jungle. He left quickly after 2 shots. Meet his teammates. Watts received a call from Bill because their team has the son of the former president. Yas, it is equivalent to the assault team. Involved in the political struggle of another country. This will affect the U.S. foreign policy. Seriously increase the risk of your actions. Yas is an important criminal of the new regime. He is a huge burden. Watts then got angry at Bill. He couldn't watch these living people die like this. Let Bill order the air rescue as soon as possible. Take these people and my people to the officer. Bill still hopes that Watts will carry out the original plan. Before Watts called all the team members, he gave the order. Don't care about YAS, carry out the original plan. Watts told everyone. He wouldn't do that. He broke his principle. He was emotional. And he got everyone involved. When the great danger came, want to hear everyone's opinions? And then the poster attacked the answer to the members. I know the answer to that. Let's get these people to safety. Let's finish the job. I can't leave. Him, sir? I'm good to go. I can't look at my packages anymore. I'm going to get them out. Or I'm going to die trying. Yeah. Those Africans in the top position are also my compatriots. We've only obeyed orders all these years. You did the right thing, Lena also said. She's sorry she didn't say anything about Yas. She should trust you. Watts disobeyed the superior's order. But he was fully recognized by his men. Their hearts are together. The sudden tension in the jungle. The 8 soldiers are waiting. And the grass in the middle of the jungle. When the assault team relaxes their vigilance. Look at how cool the soldier Reed is. He rushed out in the direction of the enemy army. He placed the bomb skillfully. Then he ran back under the cover of his brother's firepower. A jump and a turn. The body quickly returned to the position of the gun. The 2 sides engaged in a fierce battle. It was a black pig that appeared in the grass just now. Everyone was nervous. When they relaxed their vigilance, the boss quickly ordered Jij to throw a grenade. Fortunately, the Soap brother who fell down just pierced his shoulder. The soldiers kept explaining to Watts. Then there was an attack by the enemy rocket. The 2 sides engaged in a formal battle. 8 people were fighting in front of them. The assault team's equipment was well equipped. They were all skilled. The full equipped equipment began to charge. The enemy army was quickly annihilated. But this may be a test of the enemy's black. Pigeon, most of the enemy army is still in the back. In the fire attack, the refugees behind the assault team were seriously attacked. Lena was in a coma. She opened her eyes when Watts kept calling her. At this time, the soldiers came to her. The first member of the assault team was ready to leave them. The attack of the rocket has many casualties. Watts' bodyguard was also hanged. The superior held Watts' shoulder. Educate him loudly. Then the enemy army began a large-scale attack. As the enemy's firepower increased, the superiors still deployed tactics. There was only one bomb left in Reed's hand. Everyone began to cover. Reed, the bomb was placed on the enemy's path. Various types of machine guns were fired. Reed rushed out and placed the bomb sharply. Then he ran under the cover of his brother's firepower. A soldier turned his body to the position of holding a gun. The two sides engaged in a fierce battle. As the enemy army rushed over, Reed fired the last bomb. Squeege quickly called the command post and asked for immediate aid. They are now only 1 kilometer from the Tangarak Pass, 1 more kilometer to cross the border. 7 people against 300 people. The refugees also took up their weapons. They almost used up all the ammunition on their bodies. Watts took out the M4A1 ammunition. The M249 machine gunner kept shooting. The rocket launcher, the grenade launcher. Everyone took up their weapons and retreated while shooting. At this time, 2 fighter jets took off from the air on the aircraft carrier on the sea. There was only 1 retreat and 1 fight on the battlefield. In the process of retreating, Gij fell to the ground again for saving the black women. Asterisk, the black women he protected were also shot. Then the sniper fuel fell to the ground. 3 members of the 8 have fallen. Asterisk, the refugees crossed the last river on the border. Gij covered the woman's body with his body. As long as there is one last breath, we must protect the people. They are willing to protect. Watts carried the already unconscious refugee to cross the river. Arthur and others followed closely. Ryder and Shoker, who were in charge of the rear, were only a few meters away from the enemy. When they crossed the river, the assault team member's Shoker was heavily ammunition in the river. They went into the tall grass. The enemy also followed closely to cross the river. The fence on the border was right in front of them, but there was still gunfire behind them. Watts' legs were heavy enough to remove the bandage on his body. It was tangled on his legs. The crowd of enemies, K-47, kept shooting at the grass. At this time, the Star 1 landed. 2 fighter jets began to call the Eagle 1. At this time, the Eagle 1 had thrown away the rifle. With a cautious pistol cover, everyone retreated. The enemy's red-hot AK-47 was still unable to break through. The Eagle 1 was shot 3 times and fell to the ground. Unable to stand up, Watts asked his doctors and refugees to rush to the border line. Then he turned around and crawled towards his comrades. The refugees finally reached the border line of Cameroon. They kept running. Watts and Shoker were holding hands. The passage of the borderline became a problem for the refugees. The soldiers of Cameroon could not give up until they received the order. The doctors of the naval assault team also arrived by their side to stop the blood for Shoker. At this time, Watts asked Shoker and Ryder in the rear. The doctor told Shoker that he was dead. Ryder probably couldn't make it. At this time, Ryder, who hadn't shot all the bullets, slowly crawled to his comrades. Then the fighter finally contacted Watts and Shoker. The enemy was about to approach them. The Eagle 1 saw their white signal. The fighter turned on the weapon switch. The desperate people suddenly saw hope. The assault team hugged and crouched together. The Eagle 1 quickly aimed at the enemy's range. Then he pressed the red button. 4 missiles were fired from the fuselage. There was a fire on the battlefield. Hundreds of enemy soldiers who were chasing them were swallowed in the sea. 3 helicopters followed to the border of Camelon. Only 4 members of the pirate assault team were seriously injured. Ryder and Ryder ran to General Watts. All the black people were in pain. They apologized for the dead soldiers. Everyone knew that if the plane didn't take off, all 4 members of the assault team wouldn't die. If the plane didn't take off, all the refugees wouldn't survive. They will always remember the soldiers of the 8 pirate assault teams. The captain of the plane quickly ran to the border. He took out the order document and allowed the border soldiers to open the gate.